Diversity is our strength because it enhances the quality of our nation. The fact that we have this diversity is a challenge, but in itself it is not an obstacle. It's not an obstacle, it's a question of what we do with it. That's what matters. Well, this is something that people have talked about for a long while, that our school system is so divided that it has a negative impact upon unity, It's something one has to study in depth before one can come to a conclusion. And I've suggested this for a long while. Study this, find out if it's true, that our divided school system, our education system is one of the causes. Let's have more hard, concrete facts. How great this divided education system, how great its impact is upon unity, that's something we really don't know. I know people have gone to a Chinese or Tamil school, and yet they are very accommodative. And at the same time, I know people have gone to Sekolah Kebangsaan and have had a chance to mix with other communities, and yet they are quite narrow-minded. So I don't think we can come to any firm conclusion without hard data on this, Well, I think for us, differences, the diversity which confronts us every day, it is something natural. It's there in the environment, We don't think very much about it, Malaysians, and we don't think about it critically. But what we have to do, in my opinion, very, very important, three things, something that we have to do as a nation, as a people. Number one, I think it is very important that all Malaysians understand what this society is all about. How did it come about? What is its characteristic? Very, very important. If we don't understand this, then I think we will never get the equation right. We will never be able to understand what the real issues are in national unity. It's so important for us to understand our history, our background, how we evolved, what this nation is. Why? Because you find that there are a lot of Malaysians who think that Malaysia is just a nation that came up like that, all the different communities there, and that's what Malaysia is, but it has got a history. You can't run away from that history, and I always say this as a way of reminding people, though it is not the only aspect of our history, it's not the only thing that we have to know in trying to understand our society, the nature of our society. I think we have to understand that the Malaysia that we know today evolved from a Malay polity. You can't run away from it. People somehow don't want to come to terms with this reality, especially a lot of non-Malays. I think that's really very sad. It's one of the reasons why we are faced with this challenge of unity. We just don't want to acknowledge this. It emerged from a Malay polity. There were Malay sultanates, a Malay history. But more than the sultanates, the two defining elements of our history, which are with us to this day and will be with us forever. Of course, language, the Malay language is part of this region, its history. But equally important, perhaps more important, is Islam. Islam is a reality, it is the way we were shaped. Not just the non-Muslims should understand this, the Malays and the Muslims should also understand this, what it means. It is what makes us the nation we are. You just can't run away from it, And number two, I think we also have to be aware of what diversity and this plurality means, It is not just sort of coming to terms with it and saying, it's there. What it means is that we have to have some understanding that this is what shapes us as a nation, and the diversity exists within communities, and it has been there with us for a long time. If you look at the history of the Malays are very diverse people. What is a Malay? I mean, the Malays of Arab origin, of Indian origin, of Chinese origin. The Malay community is very, very diverse, extremely diverse. Chinese community is diverse. There's got so many different dialects and subgroups and so on. So is the Indian community, very diverse. It's not just Tamils or Hindus. You have Indians who are non-Hindus, who are Christians, Muslims, what have you. You have Punjabis, Bengalis. They're very diverse. And the third thing, I think, which is so important, we have to understand that at the end of the day, Shireen, everything considered, all the diversity, our history, background, who we are, what we are, all those things, never forget that we're human beings. And you'll find as more and more modern studies, up to date studies are showing now, that differences are really quite negligible. What binds us together, our similarities are much greater. Regardless, human beings, all over the world, it's like that.